Welcome to today's Explainer. We are venturing deep into a seriously atmospheric, multi-layered occult text today to decode a genuinely fascinating and, frankly, profoundly dark figure, Adramelech. As the ruler of the Qlipha Samael within the left-hand path and the Qliphothic tree of death, he represents a force that is just incredibly complex. We're going to break down his archetype, his specific qualities, and look at exactly how esoteric practitioners actually interact with him.
But before we get into all that, let's start by asking you to consider your own mental boundaries. Take a quick second and ask yourself, how do you actually define reality? This isn't just some abstract philosophical exercise. It directly echoes Adramelech's ultimate psychological test of reality versus illusion. Because according to the source texts, this concept right here is the absolute foundation of how he interacts with the human mind.
What is truth and what is a lie? It's such a profound and honestly chilling question from the source material, and it perfectly frames his role. Within this esoteric system, Adramelech is positioned as the great destroyer of the rational mind. He essentially teases and challenges the practitioner to find the answer, totally breaking down logic and everything we consider conventional wisdom.
So, here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll hit 1. The identity of Adramelech, 2. The peacock king's forms, 3. Principles and dark qualities, 4. Reasons for invoking, and finally, 5. The path of initiation. Let's dive right in.
Starting off with Section 1, the identity of Adramelech, the archdemon of the Qlipha Samael.
Now, what's really interesting here is how beautifully the esoteric texts map Adramelech out to specific planetary and elemental foundations. Look at this. He's linked to the sphere of Mercury and the black sun, which signifies his role as a dark communicator and a force of ultimate consuming illumination. Astrologically, he lines with Aquarius and Capricorn, and elementally, he's bound to primary fire and air. So what does that mean for us? It tells us he's a volatile, fast-moving, and profoundly transformative intellectual force.
And beyond those elemental traits, the sources bestow upon him these incredibly grand titles. We're talking the Glorious King, the Lord Chancellor of the Qliphoth, the Master of Transmutation, and a psychopomp of liberation. So he isn't just a ruler sitting passively on a throne, he is the ultimate threshold guardian. His specific function is to literally shatter the mental prisons and limits of cosmic order. He guides the initiate soul through a totally radical detachment from conventional reality.
Moving right along to Section 2, the peacock king's forms, focusing on the glamour and the terror.
The source material is remarkably specific about how his manifested form appears to practitioners. In his human-like manifestation, picture a tall, muscular man fully clad in black silver armor. His face is completely concealed by this bird-like helmet or mask, yet you can see his emerald eyes piercing right through it. He's got braided black hair and this very aristocratic bearing. Notice the constant juxtaposition here, right? His regal, almost mesmerizing beauty hides a much darker, guarded, and warlike nature underneath all that heavy armor.
But he doesn't just stay in human form, and this quote brilliantly illustrates his shifting, terrifying presence. The texts describe him as the Peacock King, this glorious entity always watching you with countless unblinking eyes on his tail feathers. But it's definitely not just for show. Those feathers literally absorb the spiritual venom of the serpent, transmuting toxic, chaotic energy into a majestic, royal mantle. It is just a perfect visual metaphor for his raw power of transmutation.
Which brings us to Section 3, Principles and Dark Qualities, or as I like to call it, the acid touch of chaos.
Okay, so the absolutely crucial point to understand here is this stark psychological contrast. On one hand, you have the creator of forms, the alluring peacock king who governs glamour, beauty, and luxury. But flip the coin, and on the exact opposite side, he is the destroyer of logic. The texts literally call him the reaper and the poisoner of the cosmos. His touch is described as an acid that strips away skin and dissolves bone. Obviously, that metaphorically represents the agonizing destruction of a person's old mindset and rational thought.
His outward glamour acts as a highly seductive lure. He embodies absolute longevity, supreme leadership, unmatched luxury, seductive glamour, and brilliance. Now, these qualities initially draw in the uninitiated, like a moth to a flame. They're dazzled by the brilliance and the promise of power. But here's the catch. This is a trap for the weak. It's a brutal test of true strength to see if the practitioner can actually see past all that luxury and survive the acid touch of his true chaotic nature.
Let's look at Section 4, Reasons for Invoking or Seeking the Black Fire.
So you might be wondering, why on earth would any esoteric practitioner willingly seek out such a volatile, dangerous force? Well, the goal here isn't mere worship. Practitioners interact with Adramelech for profound psychological alchemy. They want to dissolve restrictive cosmic laws and societal conditioning. They actively seek to strip away what the text calls the clay ego, that everyday, socially constructed self we all walk around with. By doing this, they hope to master transmutation, pierce through worldly deceptions with his all-seeing eyes, and totally unleash their raw, unbridled inner potential. It's an aggressive tearing down of conventional moral barriers to unearth a much deeper, chaotic truth.
Finally, we reach Section 5, the path of initiation, descending into the Qlipha Samael.
The meditative descent required to actually interact with him is intense. It begins with silent attunement, mentally placing oneself right into the desolate astral desert of Samael. Next, the practitioner visualizes and physically traces the burning trident of Lucifer in the air to literally ignite their inner flame. Finally, they recite specific spoken formulas and mantras. Think of these as vibrational keys meant to forcefully open the metaphysical gates of Sitra Achra. It is a massive shift from absolute silence to a dynamic, fiery ignition of human will.
But let me tell you, opening the gates is only the warm-up. The texts explain that the final psychological test of this magical initiation is absolutely brutal. The adept has to consciously withstand Adramelech's metaphorical acid touch. They have to willingly allow their old identity, their deeply held fears, and all their earthly attachments to be entirely burned away. Only by surviving the stripping psychological descent can they emerge as a pure vessel of chaotic truth. Honestly, ask yourself right now, could your own identity and sense of reality survive being dismantled so completely?
I'm going to leave you with this incredibly chilling liturgical invocation directly from the source texts. Show me truth and show me lies. Allow me to find clarity and wisdom in your desert of madness. It's such a wild, paradoxical demand, isn't it? Seeking enlightenment through the total, utter destruction of logic. It's a final, provocative thought to linger on, the very next time you gaze into the mirror of your own mind and wonder, what is actually real? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and remember to keep questioning the boundaries of your world.